do a long-awaited video, if anything, really, because I've not done a video in quite a while, but that's just because of the hectic nature of my winter, which has included many videos, tried to be uploaded, but never ended up being edited because of the fact that I didn't have a computer to edit them with. At the moment, what I have of a computer is in the corner over there. However, I do have a laptop at hand, which is borrowed from other people, which I can probably use to do this video, and hoping it does work, because I'm not going to do much editing with it. I'm just going to have an intro and an outro, and that's it, just smack bang, and the top and the middle. Yeah, everything's going to be alright, don't worry. Okay, into the video. If you don't like history, then, well, sad times for you. Wall Street, 1850. A small commercial and residential town with decently priced land and good trade routes because of the value of trade. In 1879, by then roundabouts, businesses had been taken hold of the city because of the lower prices that they had, as well as the good trade routes, and using these to gain footing as small businesses would. In 1929, it seemed that somewhat circumstantial positions of businesses leading up to that point allowed it to become known as the Wall Street is today, a financial area rather than a residential one. Somewhat unrelated, but yet so related at the same time. 10 years later, 1939, Palo Alto Garage sees a Stanford University students' tech ambitions come to form in the form of a tech company, essentially the first real tech company in America, and this is in the Stanford area, which would later become called Silicon Valley. Okay, so by the 1960s, the steady growth of ex-Stanford University tech enthusiasts have been building small developing businesses in the area, and in the 1960s, a 150-foot radio antenna, which is massive at those days. Nothing had been seen of that size in America, at least. And that started its own tech institution around it. And then the other thing that was built that was also quite immense in size is a 2-mile-long linear accelerator, and it later became the SLAC National Laboratory as we know it today. And these are two massive tech institutions made by Stanford professors and students working together. And by 1991, Professor Vinton Cerf developed standard protocols, TCP and IP. This again, another Stanford professor. John Coify has realized by this point that the use of telephone cords as more than just phoning people up with the telephone is viable. It's a thing that you can actually do, and that was found between him and his students in Stanford University. Tim Berners-Lee at this point already developed his first web server, and Paul Kuntz, after visiting him, followed suit in America, in, again, Stanford area. I'm going to stop saying that over and over again, it's getting a bit annoying even for me. But the 1990s after that point saw a rise in tech moguls like Google and Yahoo. So this is the beginning of Silicon Valley, the beginning of the technological revolution, as I'd said before, with the, financial revolution of the late 19th and early 20th century. So, onto the main subject. Detroit. At the moment, housing prices in neighborhoods are rising, which means there are more people, gaining homes there. There are more people buying rather than selling, because more people selling means that there's not as much demand, and therefore if there's not as much demand, because obviously if you have more people selling, even if you do have loads of people needing a home, those people needing a home will have more homes to choose from, and therefore the more homes to choose from will bring the prices down lower. Okay, so the rising prices means there's less homes, which means people are buying the homes. And at the same time, whilst Motown is remaining somewhat low, it is also rising somewhat as well. One of the firms that has taken up partly in Motown is Rocket Fiber, which have corroborated together Detroit's finest, at least in my opinion, to create a 100 gigabit fiber optic, which is 1 times 10 to the 11, which is 1 followed by 11 zeros, before the decimal place, of course, per second, in bytes. The norm is around 50 megabytes to 100 megabytes, and the top band of that is 1,000th of rocket speeds. So, as well as this, CompuWare, a business software development team, and Revolve, a hardware gaming company that's on the rise with its controller technology, are both set up, currently outpacing hubs like Silicon Valley and Boston for its growth. Detroit seems to be the next place to be. Devs like Nir Eyal are allowing it to happen, because he is a Silicon Valley veteran. He's moved to Detroit at this point. He's more liberal, with the fastly decliningly popular trademark laws, allowing for minor devs to get their chance at building a new company. So, this is the main part of the video, the big struggle. The big paragraph, they're always a little bit of a struggle. So it's the conclusion, which should always be the biggest part of an essay, in truth, because concluding is always going on in your head. Even when you're writing an essay, you might convince yourself of something slightly different, but if you are going to write an essay for like a university, then you're going to want to keep the argument somewhat, well, completely the same all the way through, because otherwise you'd sound like an idiot. But anyway, due to mass rising popularity of until recently abandoned fuck. I lost my place for a minute there. Never mind me, I'll start again. Due to the mass rising popularity of until recently abandoned and therefore moderately priced areas of suburbs in Detroit, allowing for a local customer base, whilst the rise in cheap fibre optic, an essential and usually extremely expensive part of tech business due to the itinerant customer bases as posed by Rocket Fibre, allowing for a national customer base with online stores, which is where the whole itinerant customer base would gain their tech products off of an online store as opposed to a local store, because they move, is what I'm saying. That's what itinerant means. It means a customer base which isn't in one place. Detroit is the obvious place for tech startups to move. Their becomingly liberal nature also allows these companies to avoid the most recent criticism over inequality in Silicon Valley, which has been posed by people like Paul Graham in 2015, and the criticism over the artistic empowerment headed by the rigorous patent laws, making the area a more popular place in the public's eye, because of the public's popularism with ethical schemes such as organic and fair trade. Detroit doesn't merely state that it is a mobile city. Its bite is as hard as its bark. So that sentence is the forthcoming. I'm saying Detroit is going to be the next Silicon Valley. It's going to be called Mobile City, as the tech people there have been calling it, mainly because of, Motor City to Mobile City. It'll still be Motown, but a different Mo, you understand? Anyway, the end of this video. It's been long in the works, because I've been thinking about it for quite a while, although I really only worked on it mainly over the last couple of days, but I hope it's good, to be honest. If you like it, definitely subscribe and watch other videos, probably, because you probably might like them maybe as well. Although this is the first one of its kind, I might do more or less depending on the regulars' opinions. Usually the regulars are good for opinions. So do that thing where you scroll down a bit and then fucking type, "You're a stupid faggot, go die." But then add on to the end whether or not you like the current format. Thanks. Have a nice year, because it's the start of a new year. Maybe new beginnings for everybody, including you, that dastardly bastard sat in the back who's gonna just write the first part of the comment that I just told him to write. I mean, come on. Alright, see ya.